Oh yeah, Sunset Rewind back at you again, 2025 Summer Series. We are joined by our great friend, head coach Kevin Hettig of the Corona Del Mar Sea Kings. Thank you so much for being here today, Coach.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Coach, a lot we want to go through today. First, I want to ask you just some general questions. Kind of as a head coach, you got a unique perspective. I love Taryn and I value his opinion, but at the same time, I'm really not interested in it. I'd rather hear from somebody who's in the trenches.
At least I have an opinion, unlike you.
Yes, Taryn. All right, very good.
Typical sleepy mode, dissing the dawn like that.
Look, we're already off to a great start. So, just in general, we used to cover the Sunset League. Everything split up, and now it's a whole new format. Do you like the new format, or anything you would fix with it, or what are the kind of the pros and cons, and what's your opinion on it in general?
Yeah, it kind of trickled down from what CIF did with their competitive equity model and rolling the playoff brackets out at the end of the year. And in Orange County, we adopted it a couple years ago. As far as the geographic piece, I don't love it. It was fun. I think a high school sport, you should be at bat against the same guy in baseball that you're playing against in basketball, that you're playing against in football, and there's some natural geographic rivalries there that are done. Now competitively, it's awesome. It's in the Bravo League, it's a meat grinder. It's every week you got to get up and you got to play great. Which is a far cry from where we were in the past. Like if we go all the way back to like the PCL days, where we knew we had to get up for a couple of those games, but you had one or two that you circled on your preseason schedule, and you had to go win that one or those two. It felt but I like the league. It's a bunch of really good coaches, a bunch of really good players, and it's tough. It's a grind.
Were you guys consulted as head coaches on like who should be in the league, or
every school, as far as the vote that Orange County Athletic Association goes through with it, every school's AD, I'm sure, talked to their football coaches about it, and then kind of got how we're going to vote and what we're going to do. And the re-leaguing piece just came up again. It's going to come up every 2 years, and it's I think it's competitive, and that's what they're looking for.
Do you have
go ahead. I say, is that pushed by the ADs or the principals?
I think both, and I'm not.
They work
it's both. I think some principals are more involved. A lot of principals. I'm speaking out of turn here.
Right.
I'm not. I know with our principal, with Jake Haley, who's awesome. Super supportive of every program on campus, whether it's the arts, whether it's the sports, whatever. But I know that he had he has some say in that, being the next head football coach and things like that. But I think school to school just kind of depends on the personality of the.
Do you have a preference of which league you'd like to play in, or like if there was a perfect league that Kevin Hettig could create, what would it be?
Competitively, the Bravo League I think is great. Now, as far as I thought the Sunset League was unreal, and I know the days back when I think Esperanza used to be in the Sunset League back in the day, and it's looked different, and we got in there in 18. And I know it's kind of moved, it's looked a little different, but I just love the Coastal League and the 15-minute bus rides,
Orange County is the only county that actually has a league structure like that, where everybody's essentially considered equal. So when you get through preseason, when you get through league play, and every single game is a dogfight, by the time you get to CIF, you don't have those quote-unquote bye games anymore. Does that put you at a little bit of a disadvantage just because the wear and tear of a long season against good teams takes its toll?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, and it also, depending on the algorithm, with the algorithm they use, you're going to be inflated a little bit as far as CalPreps points or whatever they're calling them now.
Right.
So it will put you up into a division, and if it's more, it really becomes, and I think we found this last year a little bit, it really becomes a battle of attrition, where if you can stay healthy through those, you can go compete. But if you lose a few guys, playing that tough schedule, it's going to be tough.
I know everybody's got that mantra, next man up, but there's only so many men on that roster. You can't just put a body out there and expect to be.
And we flipped our model this year a little bit in spring. In the past, we'd kind of platooned it from day one of spring football. You're an offensive guy, you're a defensive guy, let's go. And it's been super effective, and it's great. We did it in 23, and since I've been here, we've kind of done that. This year, the first 3 weeks of spring, we wanted every athlete in our program to have a foundation on both sides of the football. So we slowed our install down a little bit, but we're not going to go into a game where we get a couple guys hurt, and we have a kid that we're putting out there that's never played on that side of the ball before, because he happens to be the best athlete. Right. So it's that I think it was worth it. We invested a lot of time into it, and we'll see how it rolls.
One thing that's kind of exploded in recent years is the whole transfer thing. What is the current policy on transfers if a player wants to transfer?
I think the language of if it was athletically motivated is out now. if I'm correct.
Right.
I could be speaking out of turn here. I let our AD deal with most of that stuff, and he's amazing on
So
it.
if a kid contacts you, you refer him to the AD, and they handle all that part of it.
Exactly. If a kid contacts us, we send him to the AD, and then everything. The worst case scenario on that is if you put, like in my opinion, and it's part of it now. Like it happens. It happens all over the place.
Yeah.
And the worst thing I think we could do, and we're here for kids, not our own egos or anything else.
Sure.
But the worst thing we could do is, and I know a lot of coaches may think different than this, but is contact a kid and go after a kid, and then if that gets out, number one, it's terrible for us as leaders of these young men to do. Number two, it puts that kid's eligibility in jeopardy.
Right.
And that's why we are like, we want to keep that on the up and up as much as we can. And the easiest way to do it, and we've had kids contact, since, I mean, forever. This goes back to the Tribuco days, and it's hey, no, talk to our AD. Right. Everything's gonna go through our AD, and that's how it. I mean, that keeps it on the up and up.
So do you think the ability to transfer to various high schools? We see kids now playing at 2, 3, 4 different schools in 4 years. And high school, unlike college, you don't get any red shirts or gray shirts. You got 4 years. Do you think it's benefited high school football or been a detriment to it?
I don't know. The news benefits it, I guess, because people talk about it, and as much as you don't like it, and as much as it does generate clicks and that,
It's just the new norm.
It's just the new norm. And as far as the full on school to school to school, I know we all want to. I think it hurts the individual high school of what high school football is about, and it's about your neighborhood and your teammates and your friends and
the guys
and
you grew
all
up
that.
with.
Right? The guys and that's where, if you can grab onto that, it's special. But at the same time, if a kid comes in, I mean, you're not, as far as there's one other thing I was going to say, I totally forgot it. Anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of it. I know Georgia just passed a rule. I was just reading about it the other day where if you transfer your second time you transfer a school, you're suspended for a year.
Wow.
So you got to sit a year.
So you better think that through.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Well, speaking of new norms, the whole NIL thing. I don't know if you follow college football. They just passed Congress or the NCAA the House bill, so colleges can now pay kids.
Yeah.
Do you see that trickling down to the high school level? Can a school financially help a kid out, or what's the latest on that, and where do we stand?
I think so. So as far as the NIL piece, I think it's going to go in the direction of more in the courts and as a labor law piece, because are you going to be able to
Collective bargaining,
and are you going to be able to at the college level? And this is probably down the road, but are you going to be able to not allow access to employment for a college football player, let's say after 4 years, or say it's 5? That NCAA rule of a 4-year eligibility thing is arbitrary. Right. So, and if that's the tier 2 level of football now, these kids in the NCAA are getting paid more than kids in Canada or kids in the the XFL stuff. And if I'm a kid if I'm a senior at USC and I'm on my 4th year, what's to stop me from saying like, hey, well, I'm making $1 million this year. If I go to Canada, I'm going to make $85,000 or $100,000 or whatever. You're going to not allow me to play another year, and I think that fight is coming.
And you have a state tax structures too. Certain states don't have state income tax.
Right.
California, we do.
Right. I think that fight's coming, and I think it's going to take place in the courts. But I think Tier 2 football will be the NCAA, and it is right now.
Well, I mean, did you hear about the pitcher the softball pitcher from Stanford transferred to Texas Tech, got $1 million a year for 2 years, so $2 million.
Yep.
And here they are in the College World Championship, World Series. I mean, that's big bucks when a high school.
Bucks.
And the tax structure is different in Texas than it is in California.
And it comes down to the high school piece too. And there's a like a trading card thing they're doing with some high school kids. And if the kid hits, the company will pay him money. If the kid hits, that card turns into worth a ton of money or whatever it is. Wow. And it's just it's an interesting deal. And who knows where that goes? Like and again, we are getting further and further away from the way it used to be football, but that's fine. I mean, I sound like the old man, yelling at kids on his lawn, I guess, but it is what it is. Like, and you gotta, if you don't change with it, you're gonna.
But this has been a significant leap. I mean, through the years, things have changed, but this is really a whole new frontier. Like from when your dad speaking of which, your dad and a good friend of mine, Greg Campbell, dads played together at Aviation High School.
Yep.
Where is Aviation High School?
Yeah, South Bay, Manhattan Beach. Yep. Manhattan Beach. I think I can't remember it's a factory now. My dad, we drive by there every once in a while.
I used to live in Hermosa Beach. I know exactly where it is.
And they called those guys the Lanara Boys?
Larana Boys.
Larana Boys.
And I think Larana, I don't know, I can't remember what it means. It's like a frog or something. I can't remember what it means. But yeah, it was like the 60, early 60s version of like a I don't know, like a grease gang or something. Like they
the
hung out.
greasers.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
Well, no, they were all athletes and stuff, and,
Right.
and they still have their reunions every year. And my dad gets so freaking jacked up for those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have shirts with like they like match and they
Like remember the movie Grease, the T-Birds?
yeah,
and
kind of.
all
It's
that?
kind of like that.
Okay.
But that keeps him going, man. That group of guys they're still super tight and they still see each other once a year.
So talking about your dad, you're the son of a coach.
Yeah.
Correct. How did that prepare you for being a head coach? And then in addition to that, you come from one of the most phenomenal high school coaching trees there is. Talk about that.
Yeah, okay. So as far as the dad piece goes, I think the thing that I learned from my dad more than anything is that every single kid on the team matters. And he cared so much, so deeply about every single kid. I don't care and he was my head varsity baseball coach in high school, and he was a head football coach in the early 80s out in the desert. And but as far as that goes, he was he genuinely cared about every single kid he coached. And the relationships that he built, I think what I want out of coaching is when I'm 80 like he is now or 81 like he is now, to have that that contact list where you can reach out and talk about the good times with a lot of different people.
Is he still on your staff or involved?
He's still on our staff. Yeah,
Okay.
he's still on our staff. So
That's pretty cool.
It's
That's
awesome,
really
and it's
cool.
so cool to be around. I mean, I'm so lucky to be around that guy every day.
Right.
And he's such a good dude, and he's so good to the kids. And I have to print him a new roster every day at practice so he can remember what practice number so and so is, and he'll pick a kid every day, and he'll just be like,
But
"Hey,
you got to
man,
stop
good job."
sometimes and look over and go, that's my
dad.
pops,
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
dad there. Yeah.
And
That's
it's
awesome.
cool, and I think like any kid, you want to make your dad proud, and you want to and we'll talk about the games and all that stuff, and he's super into it and having such a good time with it, so it's good.
So speaking of coaching, you got a team this year coming up. What can we expect from this Corona Del Mar football team this year in terms of personnel, expectations, and everything
Yeah,
else?
as far as expectations, I think in every you got to learn from this whole thing is a learning experience, and if you're not learning and growing, you're wasting your time. But as far as expectation, our expectation is to play together as a team for every single snap we're on the field. We have changed a little bit what we've done this offseason. Starting, we got an early start, and we have been exceptionally consistent and accountable, and held our kids accountable, and they've held each other accountable throughout the whole offseason training. We asked a lot of them this year, and they've delivered on it. And we still have another phase before we get into fall.
Right.
But I think I think we're going to play fast. I think we're a physical group. We're not. It's not the biggest team we've ever had as far as size. But I'll take the how tight these kids are. I'll take that over size any day.
So speaking of which, we've heard some great stories already. New strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Talk about him.
Yeah. So Chad Wesley Smith, he joined our staff. And I didn't know him. He played for Mark Cunningham at University High School, and went on to have this unbelievable. He was a national champion and indoor-outdoor national champion thrower at Concordia. Went to Cal first. Went to Concordia. I'm telling his story right now, and I'm sorry, but
We'll have him on.
yeah, you got to have him
Good
on.
background
But he developed. He started his own gym. He was a powerlifting kind of guru and. Has always been a super intellectual guy and has always been really into the training process and always evolved and changed and he came in before the season last year and he started doing some things in the weight room, but he took over the whole programming and really the whole thing in November when we were done. It's not just how he his gift isn't with just how like the program he writes. It's the messaging.
You see a program like the actual workout that
that we're doing, and it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Like
Okay.
we're always going back and looking through like, hey, what do we like here? What do we like there? And he's super communicative and explanatory and he loves talking it. But he holds himself just as accountable as the kids do. So like every day he's recording something and posting it on our little team band app thing. And so whether it's a laser time, whether it's a AMRAP bench, whether it's a med ball throw, overhead throw, and it's always posted. And we have never had the consistency throughout the program, 1 to 95, as we've had this offseason building up.
So he'll post like a little.
It's a full spreadsheet. No, he's really good at spreadsheets. Like he's
So
a
it's about
spreadsheet.
crunching data, looking
So
at
you
numbers.
need to do this and work on this, and
And
this
like,
can help
and
you
if
with
there
this.
if a kid's a tick slower on a flying 10, like, okay, well, let's look at why. You know, and we had, you know, and you have kids and we haven't pushed in 7 on it all over the winter because we were so focused on the training piece, and we're behind in the 7 on stuff right now, which is fine. It's not, you know, it is what it is. But like we didn't do the Forvert High School League. We didn't, you know, and some of our guys played on some 7 on teams, but it was interesting. Like a guy would come back on a Sunday tournament and we'd run on the Monday and he'd be, you know, 0.15 slower on a flying 10. And it's like, well, yeah, that's
He's
what
gassed
happens.
from the wear and
tear.
Yeah. And we're trying to increase the speed throughout the you know, those months. And it's been fun working with him.
So he's
And
really
he's a
doing a
friend.
deep
He's a
dive
genuine friend now.
into the science of, you know, conditioning and performance and
he's
really analyzing.
He's written books on it. He consults for the 49ers, and I went up to a game with him in December, to a 49er game, and we went, you know, we met with their strength staff and whatever. We went to their strength coach's office after the game, and on his whiteboard was Chad's book, like literally the 7 or 8 principles. I can't remember.
Okay.
But it was his stuff, and it was really cool, and it's I mean, he's the real deal, and he's not doing it for anything more than he wants to make a difference in an impactful time in these kids' life,
right.
and he wants to be a positive influence on them.
How have the kids responded to this type of training?
You know, at first it was, you know, in general, it was like, what are we doing? And it's because it's harder than what we've done.
Sure.
And we need hard. We need to challenge our kids. Yes.
Difficult.
Yes. And we need our kids to know that you're accomplishing something by being on this team. It's not handed out to you.
Right.
At first it was kind of like side eye, like what are we doing this for? Like what are we doing here? Like why are we throwing med balls and why is this warm up, you know, difficult or whatever? The kids are completely bought in.
One other pickup you had in the coaching department is my guy, Coach Brown, former head coach, Huntington Beach. Did you guys have a relationship outside of football before? Like, how did he end up at Corona Del Mar?
Yeah, so we always kept, even the year out of the league, like we always kept in touch. He was one of my favorite coaches in that league. He's a great dude, knows ball, really, you know, really well coached. Called the offense over there for a long time. And I always, he was one of those guys that always treated his kids right. Yeah. So when, you know, reached out to him and it was like, hey, we got a spot for it if you want to. So we met. Had a really good, you know, big conversation about kind of what it would look like. And then it was funny. His only holdout was he's like, hey, look, I can't come join your staff until you and your wife and me and my wife go out for dinner. So my wife.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, exactly. We went to I can't remember the name of the restaurant. It was in Costa Mesa, but my wife closed him, and the rest is history. So he's with us now, and he's done a great job.
So will he work with the quarterbacks? He'll be up top in the box.
Yeah, so he'll be with the quarterbacks, and he was with the receivers in the spring, and we kind of made a little transition. So he'll be with the quarterbacks, and he'll be up helping call it in the fall, and you know he'll be great.
So he can be up there in the you're calling a play down the field. He can be
Right.
like, you know, hey Kevin, you know they're rolling the safety. Look for this.
And the way he
like
sees
that.
football, the way he sees ball is awesome, and he'll be great. So
You get that instant,
Yeah.
you know, feedback, which can help you adjust on the fly.
Yeah, and then we also picked up Jeff Fullerton, a DB coach from Huntington, who's phenomenal.
Okay.
And it was in that meeting was one of the best interviews I've ever had with a guy that we were considering hiring. He's coaching corners for us now, but really, really good coach, really good with the kids, help with some of our youth stuff, and like watching him for 2 minutes on the field, you're like, yeah, this guy can do it. He's a fit. And then Terrell Bynum played at Bosco for Coach Negro, and then went to Washington and USC, and then was played in the league. His first year was on a practice squad, and then last year, and if he'll be with our receivers if he doesn't get invited back to a camp, and he's done a phenomenal job all summer or all spring with us.
Well, let's kind of schedule a little bit. I won't go through every game. People can go online and find that out. But a couple that stuck out to me. The first one was Santa Barbara. That's a team you played in the quarterfinals a couple years ago.
Yeah.
How did you hook that up? And is that going to be a home and home?
You know, it's going to be a home and home. They're going to come down next year. Okay. And we played up there in the I guess it was the quarters, in 23.
Yep.
And the head coach Nate Mendoza and myself hit it off. And I love the way he coaches kids. They play tough. They're well coached. They're disciplined. It was a really good football game that we got out of there with a win late up there at their place. And the stadium's awesome. The city's cool and all that stuff. And right after the game, we were talking after the game, and we're like, hey, we got to run this back. We got to do this again. And last year, neither of us had room on our schedule. We're like, okay, 2 years out, so we're going to go up there this fall, week 2, and play up there. We're going to keep the kids overnight. We're staying at UC Santa Barbara up there. It's going to be fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
FT via dorms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
So
remember
FT, it's a different
Santa
one,
Barbara
but
real well.
So there's something on your schedule, or I guess it's a lack of a game that kind of stands out too.
Yeah.
No more Battle of the Sea Kings.
I know, no more Battle of the Sea
Not playing
Kings.
Palos Verdes.
Yeah, it you know that I think that one had kind of. That game up there at 3:00 in the afternoon is a tough one.
I was there for that last
and we
year,
played,
yeah.
and when you play the same team over and over again like that, you do start to know each other pretty well.
Right.
And Guy Gardner does such a good job
Runs a
up
great
there. Runs a
program.
great program.
Yeah.
Tough kids. It's a good game for us. But we thought we needed to see at this point something else in the preseason. And that game is a grinder. Like, it's a tough game, and it gets you ready. There's no question. But it was time that, you know, we almost got out of it 2 years ago before Danny left. That was one of the things that we were thinking about walking away from that game. And it's hard to schedule games in the preseason. I know he likes playing some of the, the Orange County teams and stuff like that.
Right.
But we had some opportunities to play some other teams, and we took them. So yeah.
The other
No
one
more
that
San
stood out,
Clemente too.
What's that?
No more San
Yeah, no
Clemente.
more San Clemente either.
Green Mountain. Who are they? It's an 8:00 game. Do we have a site yet? What can you tell us about that whole
that's
thing?
part of the California Showcase that San Juan Hills High School's putting on.
Okay.
They're a team out of Colorado. They have a couple recruitable player. They have a big DN that's really good, so they're an up and coming program. The head coach there has done a really, really good job with his team. And
So there are going to be games kind of played all day. On
all day,
Friday, Saturday,
yeah,
so.
yeah. That's good. Those games are gonna be all day, and we're the late game on Saturday night.
Okay. Now, when you say California Showcase, is that the one? Is that the same one that all the high school kids go to? Or
Yeah,
is it
kind of.
loosely affiliated?
It's teams coming from out of state, and Rob pairs with and I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. A really good guys kind of organizing it, and but yeah, it's a different look. It's kind of out of area teams playing at that facility.
Yeah, we did that. It's been probably 12, 14 years ago. Yeah, we played at Mission Viejo High School, Cypress versus Garces.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Bakersfield,
exactly. Yeah. And we did down in 2014, I think. We did one down at La Costa Canyon.
Okay.
So all the games are important, but the big one, Battle of the Bay.
Yeah.
Rumor is it might be at Orange Coast College this year. It might be on a Saturday. Where do we stand on that, and what's the latest?
Yeah, it's still kind of up in the air at this point in early June. It's our home game, and if that used to be our home game every other year, we take it to OCC.
Right.
I think the last one was 15 or 16 or whatever when
it's
it was
been a while.
It went a little sideways.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's a
Which
chance.
is why I haven't been back.
Yeah, exactly. I think the messaging piece on that is it's a chance for us to kind of a chance for us to grow and hey, it's not the same. We're not doing vodka luges in the parking lot, right? We're here to play football.
I get it. So
yeah,
the message has been sent loud and clear.
Exactly.
Want to talk a little bit about more specific things to your program, the Jack Elliott Award. That's a big deal in the CdM community. Can you talk about who he was, what that award is, and kind of how that all plays out?
Yeah, so Jack was a CdM football player who epitomized what it means to be a CdM football player. Loved his teammates, had some position changes, team first, selfless attitude, and a wonderful kid. He tragically passed at the end of his freshman year in college at TCU, and he wasn't. Jack was not our MVP. He was not he was a good football player, but it wasn't. He wasn't all county first team. He wasn't. He was just the core of what you want a CdM football player to be. A guy who loves his team,
Heart and soul
guy. Yep, exactly, and would do anything for him. So his father reached out and we put this together back when back in I believe it was like 18 and said I'd like to I'm sorry, it wasn't, it was 20 but I'd like to do something in Jack's name, and we came up with the Jack Elliott Character Award, and it's really it's tough because it's not a leadership award. It's not a who's the best player in your team award. It's not it's legitimately a character award. Who shows the character that represents Jack the most? And we talk with our team all the time about what kind of kid Jack was and what it means to have integrity, what it means to be a great teammate, and all that other stuff. And it's really cool because these kids who were, I guess, 10 years old or whatever, like never knew Jack, most of them. They're trying to be like him,
right?
And if his legacy can help kids be better kids,
memory lives on.
That's taking the worst thing in the world that could happen and spinning it, and making it positive. And in that case, like it's gold.
When does that get announced?
That gets announced right after our inter squad scrimmage in fall camp.
Okay.
So there will be the awards. We'll do our blue-white game, and then there will be the Jack Elliott Award ceremony.
Do you have any fundraisers coming up or anything that
Yeah, there's we're doing our first ever golf tournament
What do you shoot?
Not good enough. Not good enough.
Right.
A lot. But it's our first ever golf tournament, and we've enlisted. So Mitch Gardner, who was a quarterback here in 2010, the year before we got here, and then Noah Molnar, who's a stud football player a couple years before him. We're trying to make this one. We're trying to make this one a like an alumni-based piece first.
Okay.
And they're both reaching out to the alumni classes, and we have so many people that want to support the program and want to be a part of it. And most of all, and what we're trying to do is keep it a little bit small and say, hey, let's go have a great time with these guys and just reconnect.
Right.
And it's over at Costa Mesa. Danny Lane he manages the course, and so we're working that out right now. But that's kind of off my plate right now. It's Mitch and Noah are running with it.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah, they're doing
that.
a really good job with it.
So speaking of the future of CDM football, how are the lower levels looking this year? And is Coach Griffin still coaching the lower
Coach Griffin's
levels?
still coaching, man.
So
he's
records-
Mr. Coach Griffin's Mr. Everything.
He's
first
like
of all.
207
I
and 4
know.
or
It's
whatever.
unbelievable. He knows how to win.
Yeah.
So he will. He's kind of coaching on both sides. He'll help us at the varsity level, and then he'll be there at the freshman level. And then the freshman group last year was really good. They were 8-2. To be sophomores, they've created this huge amount of a lot of them are going to play for us this year on Friday nights.
As sophomores.
As sophomores,
Nice.
and then and regardless if they're on the field or not on Friday nights, they are pushing and making every position on the field competitive, and that's something that we've missed. To be honest, just the overall program depth.
Like they're pushing the guys in
Yeah,
practice. to get
100%,
better.
and they're competing with them, you know, and it's really good. Right now, as far as the freshmen coming in, we had a light group in our 7-on-7 stuff, but we do have like 40. I think it's 41 kids right now registered. This is pretty early.
Do you still have the lower level Pop Warner program that feeds into CDM?
Yeah, the Seahawks. I'm not sure what they did. They might be. I think they might be doing something else now.
Okay.
I know that we were going to get a Patriots group over there or something to run with it. We've had them on our campus before, but we're kind of in a little bit of a weird spot right now.
Well, I gotta think one of the challenges being a coach at Corona Del Mar or even Newport or these beach cities is these aren't where first-time homebuyers go to raise a family.
Right.
And so the farm of kids you get is very limited.
Yeah.
Versus like in the Inland Empire where families are going out to buy their first homes.
Right.
I remember back in the day when we all played, you might have 100 kids in your program.
Yep.
There was a freshman team, a sophomore team.
Yep.
Remember a JV game on Saturday. Now it's tough with those
Yeah.
numbers, especially where you're located. How do you keep bringing those kids in and still perform at a high level?
It's tough. There's no question, and sometimes, especially when you get, this is where the depth piece and the competition piece I was talking about with the sophomores. But as far as the program numbers, our school too, we have a little over 1,400 kids. So we're a pretty small school.
Right.
But we do have the right kids and the kids that want to come out and play sports, and all of our kids play, and they play multiple sports, and it's awesome. But you just have to. The program has to be right. And I think if we hang our hat on that we do things the right way, and there may be bumps along the road, but if we do things the right way, if our kids have a great experience playing CDM football, that it speaks for itself. We don't need to go, sweep the streets and try to bring guys in,
Right,
whatever.
just have numbers for the sake of having numbers.
Exactly.
Do you find that there's a legacy connection, like
big time.
sons playing there whose dads are like the Garber brothers?
Big time, and there are, and that's always fun too. When you coach these kids' older brothers and you get to coach them, it's the best. That's the best.
Well, speaking of former players, do you keep in touch with guys like Hoke or Weir or Razor?
Yeah,
some of those guys are a
absolutely.
little before you, but you worked with all those guys that I mentioned.
We saw Hoke at your spring game, and
Yeah.
it was fantastic. We talked with him for about 10 minutes.
Oh,
and
he was
great.
when he was down at our spring game. He was trying not to coach. Like he was. It
was killing him not to.
He's so about that kid is so about ball that like. I mean, a kid comes back after run around. He's like, "Hey, we got to like." He's awesome. And I went up to his spring game with Coach Griffin actually about a month ago to San Jose State spring game, and he was out there with the starters.
You got catches last year.
Yeah, I got catches last year, and right now he was with the ones. He was running with the ones.
Okay.
Who knows what the transfer thing goes on up there, but he's going to be in the mix. He caught 6 balls in the spring game and looked really good. Nice. He's got a full grown man beard now. Which
I
is
saw
awesome.
that. That's why I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
Like, who's that dude?
And then like Russell.
Played as a true freshman at UCLA.
Yeah, got some time. And that kid, love that kid. He came back a couple months ago and talked to our guys that were when we were training.
That's great. Guys doing that.
And was just like, Russell was a great high school football player. He's doing a great job at UCLA. And the biggest thing about him is just how cool of a kid he is. Like,
Right.
he just comes to our guys. He's like, hey, here's the deal. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And
Even his
da-da-da-da.
dad would reach out to us.
Oh,
Water
his
polo
dad's
guy,
better.
like
His whole family.
that whole
His family is awesome.
Grandfather's
always
great,
positive.
yeah.
It's crazy. And then
David.
David's up at UC Davis. They just finished spring ball up there. Stays in touch. I was actually just talking about him this morning. I saw Trent Merriman was over on campus. And
I live right next to his grandfather.
yeah,
I talked
he's
to him
the
about
best.
SARS.
And
He's
Trent
the best.
Merriman, another Jack Elliott
another
Award
Jack
winner.
Elliott Award winner, and we were just talking about David. I actually have to give David a call here, but he's doing great. And as far as the Garbers, Ethan now is at Carolina.
Okay.
Had a pretty, as far as what he said, pretty good rookie mini camp, and then he's rolling there, and then. Chase is now training quarterbacks. He's back in training quarterbacks, and I think he's still
Back in Orange County?
Back in Orange County, back in Newport Beach, and I think he is. He's getting ready to go, on his career mode.
Okay.
Unless he gets a call and possibly show up in a camp, But yeah, they're all doing good, and the cool thing about everyone, there's more guys out
Sure.
there, right? Like I just talked to Christian Brooks a couple of weeks ago. I gave him a call on the way home after one of our spring
Another
games.
Jack
That was my guy. He was a
Jack
stud.
Elliott
Yeah.
Award winner, yeah.
Is he going Navy SEAL route? I know that's.
He eventually will, but he's at Point Loma right now. But eventually, that's what he's training right now. He's like, yeah, I'm just getting ready.
Is there any doubt?
Yeah, and
if he can't make it, then I don't know who they're.
And then Trent, who I mentioned, the other Jack Elliott. He's at the academy.
He was at that prep
he's at West
academy.
Point. He's
Yeah,
at
yeah.
West Point now.
Wow, he's
And he's a stud. We have so many good kids that we get to coach. We're lucky enough to coach. It's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy.
And it's a great environment. Every time we're on campus, everybody's so friendly and like.
Yeah.
It's really a wonderful place.
Yeah, it
Corona
is.
Del Mar High School.
It is.
So, Coach, how many more years you got in you? Is this you going to do this
I don't
like
know,
your dad
man.
until they?
I don't know. We'll see. I love until I don't love it anymore.
All right.
I'll tell you that. Until I don't love it anymore.
Taryn, you got any takes? You want to throw a question this way, or
Nah.
you're going to sit this one out?
Yes.
All right, good boy. Well, listen, Coach, we really appreciate taking the
Thank you
time
so
to come
much,
down
Coach.
here. If you got a few minutes, maybe we'll go to the Wild Goose and grab a Pepsi.
Diet soda.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you to Taryn Rodriguez and Cole Menzinger for being here. Hey, remember to like and subscribe. We are on social media at sunset_rewind and also sunsetrewind.com. Feel free to leave any comments, questions for us you have. Coach Hettig, thank you so much for being here again. God bless the Sea King Nation. Hope you guys have a great year.
Me too.
Have fun, and thank you for the great job you do for the kids, for the community, and everything. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you, guys.
joining us today.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, and God bless.
Awesome.